Good morning. Thank you for joining us. We are so happy to know that you are with us this morning, and then the show is on Equa International Television. So just do well to just follow us on Facebook handle, and then we're on YouTube, so that as we discuss, you throw your own view to us so that we'll know how you feel concerning what we are discussing. And not just what we are discussing, but generally, even the issues that is disturbing this country, and then very soon Nigeria will be 62, and then we are still where we are. Where did we get it wrong? And then for the areas that we are doing well, what are we doing to really improve on those generally? Is Nigeria now on Equa TV International? So do well to join us as we discuss together. Today I have Sele with me on the set.
Good morning.
Yes, this is a marathon.
Of course.
On your side is a marathon,
Yeah,
from the dailies and then Nigeria now. How are you?
I'm okay, thank God. How about you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, you spoke about, you said it's a marathon for me. Just took me back to what the former president said. He said Nigeria cannot be regarded as the giant of Africa at 62. And I begin to ask myself, why can't we be called the giant of Africa? Because we've always maintained that name for the past 62 years. And people will ask if we are truly independent. And on other nations for virtually everything, we still import. We consume more than we even
produce.
Actually create our own thing. So you begin to ask questions, and I begin to ask myself, is truly we are ready for that, that name called Giant of Africa? But regardless of what it is, I think we have to maintain that name at the end of the day.
Retaining the name, comes with so many responsibilities. And then you need leaders that are be deliberate about them. See, too, Sele, I think you should be retiring.
Of course, you should.
You don't need to. At least you have made your own investment, you have worked hard, that you're supposed to be getting return. This time around, you're supposed to relax and then look back and see how well you have done, and then you are eating from that fruit. And it's not at 62. That is when you are thinking of settling down. This is when you are thinking to start making family. This is when you are thinking of taking your child to kindergarten. Like for instance, you understand? Yeah. So because you see, the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying, there are so many things that by now we should have been forgotten. We shouldn't have been talking about them. But it is now that we are even thinking of doing it. Even doing it, we are not even getting it right. At this age, we are battling with terrible roads. At this age, we are battling with electricity. At this stage, we are battling with ASUA, even on strike for 8 months. Nobody cares. They are just paying lip service to even the situation on ground. And you see their children graduating abroad, and they are celebrating, they are flaunting the pictures all over in social media, and then like do your worst. You understand? And you start asking yourself, when are we going to get it right in this country? And then we're approaching 62.
You said it already. I think what we lack in this country is political will. Because it's really, baffled me when this is coming from the former head of state. And I begin to ask, when Obasanjo was the president of Nigeria, let's take a look at your own administration. What were you able to do? We're not saying you didn't record any success so far. But you were the first democratic president we had after passing through military regime. So it was expected that you should have actually set the pace rolling. You should have actually made all that was needed for Nigeria to actually have, or Nigeria should be really independent and say that yes. So if it's coming from you, then we begin to ask questions, what was the guidelines, or what did you do when you were the democratic president of Nigeria? Because posterity would definitely remember what you did. Because it's what you left that is expected that any leadership coming after you will begin to work on, will begin to trade on. So I believe that this is time for us, just like you said, not at 62 years. You're supposed to start saying you want to get married, you want to start. In fact, at that time, your kids are supposed to be the one taking care of you. You're supposed to be retired and resting. But we're still looking at what question we're supposed to be asking incoming president. What are you going to do about power? What are you going to do about insecurity? What are you going to do about the oil theft? We're still looking at oil subsidy. That it will baffle you that we are producing oil, but we'll still sell it and still buy it back, and begin to ask, is that wisdom? All I think we need to do is go back is by electing wrong leaders. Then we need to go back and see that we elect the proper leaders now. And this is where Nigerians have to be very, very vibrant to actually say that we're tired of the way things are moving. Because it's just like when you employ somebody, you tell the person the terms and conditions apply. If you are not ready, then you get out of the office. So I think we have to realize that we are the employers here. We employ these leaders, and we are the ones to tell them the do's and the don'ts. If they are not willing or they are not ready, then we call them back and say, please, thank you. We are not doing what we want. Come back. We want somebody else to go there. But if we don't realize that, then we will keep going in circle and circle and circle, and things will be the same way they are.
God give us good leaders that have the masses at heart. I think that should just be our constant prayer. And then, prayers alone cannot turn things around. It's prayer and action. As you pray, you act it. And then God will look at you with the eye of mercy and say, yes, let me look at Nigeria. What do you think?
Well, you said it. I feel it's the same way. You said it. Prayer will not work. I keep telling people, if you like, put your prayer request on Facebook. God will answer that. They say faith without work is useless.
Yes.
So when you don't go out and do, things won't change. We're still talking about insecurity now. Every day, our president went over and said that our debt should be cancelled, right? Because we're going through some economic challenge. And even UN said it. Nigeria is going through challenge. But they know the truth that is happening. They know what is happening. So we know where the problem is. I think it's all for us to have the will to change it.
It's true. Yeah. Kwara flood, 7 killed, thousands, almost 2,800 persons in Kwara displaced. We've been talking about this issue of flood. Now the rain is, I would say, intensifying, and then people are not really taking caution of all the alerts, all the warnings. I wonder, up till now, you still plead with people and say this is what is happening. It happens in Kano, it happens in Zamfara, and now Kwara, and then it happens in Niger, it happens in Plateau. Almost everywhere you hear about this flood, and then the painful part is this loss of life, and then when you talk about property, yes, this you can with life you can get those properties again, but once life is lost, I think it's lost forever. Particularly if you are not a Christian, it's a forgotten thing.
Of course, you think when I saw this flood, I mean, the rain this year has been, especially September, which we're expecting that rains should have been more in July, August. But it's surprising that the rain is more in September than it was in August. And looking at the fact that before now there were warnings saying we should be very careful. There's going to be flood and all that, and I think we actually paid deaf ears to this, and we saw it. And what is even shocking is the fact that the northern part of the country, where we're expecting that mostly the rains are not much, it's actually where we are seeing the flood is actually really taking lives and property in that ends. And I think we have to do more to see what we can do. We keep talking about our drainages, that we are not doing well about that. Talking about building by the waterways, I think this has been one of the major challenge that we are having, because most time we actually build by the waterways, and then at the end of the day, when this rain comes, definitely lives are being lost, properties are being lost, even food stuff at the end of the day, because you see that lots of people that farm, the rain did away with lots of food, and we're still looking at food crisis as a result of all of this thing. And then let's not forget about erosion that is actually eating up these places. Illegal mining left, right, and center. I know definitely when we have this illegal mining, it has a way of eating up, and then most of the earth in the northern part is not really that strong to absorb this water. So we see that these are part of the reason why we're having this flood. So we can see that these are the reasons. Then we'll be able to see what is the next step we need to take to avoid this from happening, because the rains won't stop. We'll keep having rain, and then at the end of the day, when the time this east wind blow, at the end of it, we see that things like this are happening. So I hope that this has served as an eye-opener. It's just really sad that we're having lots of people are homeless as a result of this flood, because just last week we saw where people from like the Niger communities had to Niger State, where they had to vacate their community because of the flood. Now you will not be in liability to other people they are living with. Now this will now bring to mind, what is the government doing that they provide something for these people? Where are they living? What are they eating? How are their welfare? I think these are questions that will come to mind, that we're not just asking to get answers, but we need the right answers to issues like these that are coming up, that the government will do something. What is the Humanitarian Affairs Ministry doing to make sure that people like this are being addressed? It's not just about concentrating on school feeding, which we are sure not even every school are actually benefiting from the school feeding. But then we need to see what is she doing that the people actually that have been affected by the flood, that we're giving relief materials are being given to them. What can they do? How they can survive? I think these are questions we need to ask and also to get answers at the end of the day, because it's really sad that we're having about 2,800 have been displaced just in Kwara State. Now this is one out of many other states that have been affected by this flood. So you can see that this is an eye-opener, that we have not been doing something properly, and I think that possibly we have not been enlightened down to the grassroots level, because most times this enlightenment comes to just the rural area. And the rural area don't need so much of this, like those in the rural, the urban areas, don't need this as much as those in the rural areas, because it's easy for it to stumble upon information here in the urban area. But it takes much more for people in the rural area to know what they can do, how are they supposed to start building their houses, how is the foundation supposed to be. We've had issues where building are collapsing in Lagos, Ibadan, and other places. Why? Because maybe they didn't build with the adequate material that are needed. So I think these are, pointers that we really need to look into to make sure that we avoid this flood when they come next year, and then what we'll be able to do building. I think we have to even go back to the road maps about the way, where's industry supposed to be, where are houses supposed to be, and all of these things. I think we need to go back to those drawing boards, then we'll get it right, and then we'll avoid this flood from coming up again.
You're right, Saleh. I just pray that the relevant authorities will do the needful, because these people are in dire need of help right now, because you talk about food, you talk about where they will stay, and I feel NEMA should also be proactive, in responding to such issues in good time, so that these people will just feel a little relief, from what they are going through. Now, Saleh, demand for bulletproof SUVs, is on the high side.
I mean, I was, Anyway, I'm not surprised, Solo, because it's that time of the year again where people come out to say all manner of things. Already they are complaining about how much they are supposed to have your picture on billboards. Dealers and suppliers are complaining. The demand for bulletproof cars is very high. Now this is to tell us, Solo, there is so much insecurity. People are insecure. Because if I feel that I need a bulletproof car, then that means I have something on my sleeves that I'm scared. Somebody somewhere is after me. Even though Solo, you and I, we walk up and down. We are not scared about anything. Apart from the fact that every information you see, because you know that it demands that you bring information firsthand, undiluted at the end of the day. But then looking at the fact that the demand for bulletproof cars, and we know campaign is starting in the next 2 years, definitely these are things. Wednesday, campaigns will start for the presidential. Then by October, we'll begin to hear that of the governorship and all that coming up. And then I asked, what are the guidelines that INEC actually gave? because I know that you're not permitted to have any personal security. If you need any security, you're supposed to apply from the government and all of those things. These are some of the do's and don'ts that possibly are needed. But then when you look at the need for this bulletproof car, so you know that definitely a lot needs to be done. The right authority need to check, why are we having a high demand of it? As we are still on strike, where did you get the money to be able to do that? We complained about how much nomination form cost, about 100 million naira. We complained during the primaries about how dollars were flying left, right, and center that had devalued our naira.
No.
Back was then where you can actually be very proud of the naira, but now you can go to the market with 10,000 naira and come back with just a polythene bag. You did not buy anything reasonable. Inflation is still